Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Peter Christian. I'm here with the host of the show, Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Diane has been helping buyers and sellers with real estate in the Missoula area for over 20 years and is very active in the Missoula community. Along with their trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on NewsTalkKGVO.com. 98.3 FM and 1290 AM. Welcome, everybody. It is Missoula Real Estate Today, and we are privileged to have with us the founder and host of our show, Diane.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Diane Beck, how are you?
Great. How's it been going?
I have no idea.
Yeah, right? Can you believe, January is almost over?
I know, it's great.
It's incredible.
I actually, from the first big snowfall, I've literally been holding my breath until spring.
I bet you have. You have one of the longest driveways of anyone I know.
I know. And it's really, really fun to... the really cool thing is we have a teenage neighbor whose dad got him a four-wheeler and a blade.
Nice.
And so every time it snows more than 3 or 4 inches...
He's out there?
$20.
That's awesome.
Does my 100-foot driveway, and he's a great
and he's
kid.
having fun. That's great.
He's making money. I just go out there with a $20 bill and smile and go back in the house. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Put my slippers back on.
There you go.
Anyway.
I love it.
But aside from that, it's good to have you back. Now, you have been traveling. You've been doing all sorts of things.
Not a whole lot since I was at the National Association Conference in November. I went to the FCS Championship game down in Frisco. That was fun.
That was a great game.
It was a great game. It was super fun. It was wasn't a blowout by any means. People stayed right till the bitter end, so it was awesome.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, North Dakota State, baby.
Champions
Got some
again.
Relatives over there in Williston, so
just saying, time for them to move up.
I know. I hear that's not going to happen.
They just love being a big fish in a little pond.
Yeah, at some point they'll have a team that can't play as well as the ones that they've had the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, good on them. And James Madison was there again. We played them one time.
The Dukes.
I love both of their fans.
That's the one that I went to in Chattanooga.
Me too. It was a super fun
The one
trip.
where there's barbed wire coming out of the field?
Yes.
That was great.
Yes, that was...
But anyway.
Anyway, back to real estate?
Yeah. we are, you are actually now, even though it's not even done with January yet, you are planning for spring.
We are. We're talking to all of our clients, buyers and sellers, about the spring market and what's coming. And we're talking to our sellers about why they are better off to plan to get their house on the market earlier this year rather than later. As a seller, you want the grass to be green and the flowers to be blooming and everything to look really, really nice. Well, we are highly recommending to our sellers that they get their house on the market even before that, because I believe this season we're going to start to see a large increase in inventory. We've talked about this low inventory and why isn't there anything for sale for so long. I just have this pretty strong sense that we're going to see a lot of stuff for sale this spring.
Now, here's what I think is going on in the minds of people who say they want to wait, because they want to make sure if people, the whole curb appeal thing, if people drive up and there's a foot of snow on the ground, a foot of snow on the roof, they can't really tell how pretty the flowers are and how green the grass is and all that jazz. And I think what they're afraid of is a seller is afraid that their house will not appraise for as much as it would be if it was a beautiful sunny day in April.
Right. And, that's a really good point, and that is a conversation we have with our sellers. We do ask them if they are going to list with a foot of snow, that they go back and see if they've got some pictures of the outdoors, the outside of their house. A lot of times people do a fresh paint job and then take pictures. Maybe it's a picnic in the backyard, but anything that just shows the landscaping and the green grass, we do ask for that, because I don't think appraising would be an issue in that scenario as much as it just curb appeal is a big part of the market.
Right.
Buyers, love to drive up and see that. See what it's going to look like. But they also need to know what it's going to look like when there's a foot of snow. So
Right.
It is what it is. And so we've talked to our sellers about prepping early and getting ready earlier than you would normally this year.
All right. So when you talk about getting prepared to sell your home, this is a conversation you and I have had over the years. We've been doing this I don't know how many years.
8 years.
Yeah, something
Peter.
like that. But what constitutes getting your house ready is more than just vacuuming and picking up. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, making sure that the dirty underwear is off the
yeah,
the floor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Especially when you're going to have people coming into your house to take a walkthrough, which is really what you want them to do. You don't want them to see your house. You want them to see what it would look like if it were their house.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
And, that's one of those conversations we have early on with our sellers. Clean out your closets, clear your cupboards, rearrange your furniture if you have a lot of furniture, move a lot of stuff out. In fact, we listed a great little house out in Target Range that we'll talk about later. They had a couple large pieces of furniture. I said, can you just move those, please? And, if you have small rooms, it's best to make them look as large as possible. So we walk through all that with our sellers in advance of listing the house. Typically, when someone says, I'm thinking of selling in the next couple months, we have a little bit of time.
Right.
So earlier the people call us, the better. We want to hear from them, a couple months out, 3 months out, 6 months out, even a year out. I love a year out. And I've got a couple of folks that we stay in touch with on a regular basis that are a year out. And that gives us plenty of time, all of us plenty of time to prepare.
I was just going to ask you, why a year? Why
here's one example. These people own a beautiful home in between Lolo and Florence, and they're not here half the year. So they actually do close up the house and go south for the winter. So they're not even back in the state till April of this year. And so last year in April, they said, we think next year we're going to sell. So we've just kept this dialogue going, and we'll be prepared for them when they get here in April of this year.
Okay, so what kind of things are you doing to help them?
We basically just keeping a pulse on the market, sending them any homes that come for sale or sell in their neighborhood. We can keep a pulse on their neighborhood pretty good for them, and we touch base regularly and share Christmas cards and family stories, and that's part of the process. And so, usually a year out's on the high end. I mean, we don't see that. We have a couple of those, but we don't see it all the time. Mostly
Sure.
6 months.
Okay.
Or there's also the people who say, I just got a job transfer. We're moving to Billings. We need to go next week.
Right.
So I've got all sorts of scenarios, and everything we do is based on what their story is.
Now, what if the story is not a pleasant one? Like I just lost my job, or we've loved our house, but I had to retire early or whatever, and now I have to sell my house and find something less expensive or whatever. How do you deal with that? We actually came through the worst economic downturn in my lifetime in 2008 to 2012 or 13. So we had a lot of those stories during that period of time. We look at it from a logistical perspective. We're not personally involved. We literally are there to do a job, and they tell us their story, and Right.
we figure out a plan for them, good, bad, whatever the story is. It's our job just to try to help put their plans in place step by step and give them some logical, reasonable, professional advice on how to get out of the situation they're in.
It's still a house. It's still a home. It has to sell, and so all those basic rules apply.
Correct. Yep. Oh, and one of the other things we've done a lot of, mom passed away, dad's been gone for 5 years.
Right.
Now we have to sell the family home, and we have a lot of estate sale work that we do. We do a ton of that. And, it's not always a pleasant experience, and not always all the siblings get along really well.
You've noticed that, have you?
Yes. Jeez. I'm glad we have a perfect family. Just kidding. But, it's one of those things where everybody has their perspective on what the family homestead should sell for.
Right.
And so we 25 plus years of experience, I've dealt with almost every single possible scenario.
So I think that's a really good place to insert here how a home is valued. I mean, just because, for instance, I've lived in my house for 25 years now, all right? And because we've done all sorts of, you've seen it.
Yep.
Yeah. And,
beautiful.
And I think it's a nice house, but I think it's probably worth more than some other people might. And so that's where I have to put it in the hands of the professionals and say, what is it really worth?
Right, exactly. And, you are no different than any other seller, Peter. Everybody, you put your love and soul and heart into your home, into your landscaping, into your updating. You've spent the money. You've written the checks. You've done it all. So you have kind of more of an emotional attachment. Well, I come along and say, these are the most recent sales in your neighborhood, and this is what realistically it's going to sell for. And so this is where we need to be priced. And, I burst your little bubble. I'm sorry, but we have to be, that's nice. But we have to be.
We spare no expense here, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Nice sound effects. We have to be methodical and strategic in our process. We literally have started a few listings on the high side, and I'll tell you, sometimes we get it. Sometimes we've pushed an envelope by $10,000 or $20,000, and because the market's been so tight the last couple of years, sometimes we get it. It may not be the price we think it will sell for, so we don't argue too much with our sellers unless they're really out of line.
So when you say the market is changing, I'm wondering, all of a sudden it got loud. When you say the market is changing, what do you mean? I realize for the last couple of years, it's really been a seller's market, right?
Yeah. So we've had a super low inventory for the last probably 2 to 3 years, which means, supply and demand says there's no supply, high demand, prices go up. So we've been through that. I really feel like we're on the top of that bubble right now.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to start to experience more and more people who are putting their homes for sale. Folks, there's still a ton of buyers out there. Interest rates are still historically low.
Yeah, they just crossed 4%, I think.
They're historically low still, but they are expected, with the economy booming, if you will, and, well, except the government shutdown. I'm not sure what to say about that, but, you got...
Don't get me started.
I know, right? We look at the big picture, and stock market's doing good. The economy's generally doing well. Along with that, rates are going to go nowhere but up.
Yes, and we need to be prepared for that. But when you say, let's provide a little, and we do this every now and then, a little historical perspective.
Right,
okay?
yeah.
When I bought my first house back in, 77, something like that, the interest rates were hovering right around 18, 19, 20% to buy a house.
Isn't that crazy?
And then along came the Board of Housing at 12%. We all went, woo, woo.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, we bought our first house in 1984.
Right.
And it was Montana Board of Housing. I think it was 10.5%. We were really excited because the regular conventional rates then were 18.
Right. But again, back then, you could buy a house for $23,000.
Yeah, correct.
So it kind of balanced out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Things have balanced out, and the note. This is why I think we're going to have a great 2018, is because we've got all these buyers still that want to buy houses before the rates go up, and now if we get some really good inventory out there, it's going to be a banner year, and it's probably not going to last really long. I mean, I think 2018, 2019. I think by 2020, things are going to really start to soften. That's just my crystal ball. I kind of go with the flow, but we also talk about what's reality. There's no sugarcoating here. So it is what it is.
Well,
but
it's a business.
It is a business. And real estate is ebb and flow, just like the economy, just like the stock market and everything. And so we have to be realistic in what we see coming in the future.
Now, of course, we're talking with Diane Beck from Windermere Real Estate. This is her show of Missoula Real Estate today. And I wanted to ask you, since you also have a show called Montana Real Estate today.
I do. It's a really fun show that I do with Dale Moore.
Yeah.
It's aired all across the state. We basically talk about what's going on in Montana real estate, and we really hit the market across the state. We've got local experts in all of the markets, and we're able to really talk about what's happening out there. We just brought on a partner from Bozeman here a couple weeks ago. So Bozeman's the hot spot, in the whole state. So we're able to really dial in on what's going on around the state, not just Missoula.
The reason I brought that up is because it just seems like so many people are choosing Missoula. Bozeman, yes, but also Missoula and Billings and whatever. But I wanted to ask you since we're in Missoula right now, why Missoula? Why are so many people moving in here? We don't have a lot of heavy industry. We don't, we have the university, we have medical. So what is it that's drawing people?
I think people move to Missoula for a few reasons. Quality of life, having the 5 valleys, having the recreational, the rivers, everything, that you read in the storybooks, if you will, is one of the reasons people come to Missoula. We've got great medical facilities here. We're a regional shopping center. We are not necessarily a place people come looking for employment. However, if people come here with employment, they're going to do all right. I look at the 3 places people move to most often in when they're shopping Montana is Bozeman, Missoula, and Kalispell. And I look at the differences of all 3 of them, and they all have something different to offer. Not only geographically, but just community-wide. And so, but Missoula is a popular place. We've got some of the top heart surgeons, brain surgeons. The medical facilities are, 5-star. We've got things going on here. The university, I think, really drives a lot of why people move here. And same thing with Bozeman. I think the offerings of the university are something that people really like. I mean, Missoula's got the Molly program for the seniors, if you will. People retired that want to continue their education.
She said as she stared at my white hair.
Yes, yes. I've heard raving reviews about that program. Culinary arts, writing, all kinds of different offerings through that program for people. So I think our population wants outdoor activity, they want education, and they want entertainment, and you get it all right here.
Yes, and so because of that, when you come into the Missoula market, there are some dynamics here that it takes a professional realtor who has experience here to understand.
Right. I mean, every market, I don't care what part of the state you're in, every market's so different. That's why we have local experts in all the markets, because it's so different. Last week, the guy from Bozeman was talking about how they don't have pocket neighborhoods like we do. It's a different dynamic in the Bozeman market. So, which is really interesting. It's kind of the university is in the center of their market, and it expands out.
Well, when you think about the Gallatin Valley, it's huge.
It is huge,
and they can keep going out and out and out and putting up more and more developments.
Right.
So the prices they may be high, but at least they're stable.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And they have so much more land to keep building, and because they're in their valley, they have expanse amounts of farmers' fields. They do go up to Bridger Bowl. They kind of go up in their valleys a little bit, but not like big neighborhoods like we have the Rattlesnake and we have Grant Creek. I mean, their next big neighborhood is Belgrade, right? But it's still flat.
Right, yeah.
So it's really it's really interesting how you've got to find a local expert and someone on the ground regardless of where you're moving, because that's what we do. And we know the schools, we know the shopping, we know the traffic. We can give you we call them 2-hour tours, kind of like Gilligan's Island, right? It's not a 3-hour tour.
It's a 3-hour tour, yeah.
We do 2-hour tours for people that are looking at Missoula, and we show them, we literally do a big loop, and we hit every corner of the valley in a couple hours.
I'm glad you said that, because I would like to know, and we haven't done this for a long time, is to go through all the neighborhoods.
Yeah, we need to do that. Yeah. We'll do that here on one of the next shows I do.
But let's hear the top of the trees.
The top of the trees. I just said it. The Rattlesnake, the Grant Creek, Miller Creek, Mullen Road. You've got all these different corners of Missoula, Target Range, and they all have their own characteristics and their own feel. In fact, our website and the Missoula Organization of Realtors website has a neighborhood tab on it that talks about all the neighborhoods, and they're all very different.
What are the newest ones?
Probably, more of the growth has been Miller Creek and Mullen Road,
right.
44 Ranch. That's kind of where all the growth is. The Ranch Club out west, west on Mullen Road. There's not really any new neighborhoods, if you will. They're just growing neighborhoods.
Sure. I have noticed that there all of a sudden, magically, a whole bunch of lots for sale up above where I live in the Miller Creek area.
There are.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember when I first moved in a billion years ago, I would literally watch hill upon hill upon hill as the houses would march up over the little foothills.
They went up over the hill.
Right,
Have you been up there lately?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
They went up over the hill. They're going down the other side to the south. And and it's great. I mean, that we love to see the growth in the construction, not so much the traffic.
Yes.
But we love to see, I mean, construction in our community means a healthy economy and healthy growth, and we love to see that.
Since you have your ear to the ground on the real estate community and, of course, governmental things, do we have, is there going to be any other way in and out of the Miller Creek area coming anytime soon? Or
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
And, you'd think with the school going out there that the school would really... that expanding Cold Spring School or whatever they're going to call it. I know that's
Jeanette Rankin Elementary School.
There you go. Thank you. That is going to cause an increased amount of traffic, I believe. But I have not. They did the big study, remember, the bridge study, and that got all kiboshed. And they've done EISs till the cows came home. And for right now, I don't believe so.
So basically, we have a 2-lane road that's going to be serving another 600 families.
Exactly. With a roundabout.
With a roundabout, yes. Yeah,
yes.
Don't forget the ever-loving roundabout.
Don't forget the roundabout. And actually, I'm not so unimpressed with the roundabout. Traffic moves through there. Of course, I haven't been up there at 8 in the morning or 5 at night, but anyway, so yes. But we're, Missoula's growing. It's such a great place. We've got still have a vibrant downtown. We still have a vibrant, going to be more vibrant University of Montana. We've got lots of things happening. Good stuff's going on in Missoula.
Talk to me about for folks who are looking for what you might figure to be, quote, affordable housing, say under $300,000.
Yes, isn't that weird? Under $300,000.
Yeah.
We've got
where do we find those?
Yeah, we have condos. There's condos. There's some few townhomes. When you're looking at a single family 3-bed, 2-bath home on a double car garage, say a 1,800 square foot house or higher, you're at about that 300,000 mark. Right. I don't care if you're in Pleasant View or where you are. Missoula's lacking affordable housing. Not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
Bozeman's lacking affordable housing. It's just you got to get outside the city limits. You got to get outside into the county before you can find things more affordable.
And that's because real estate is a business. And the law of supply demand rules, right?
Right, exactly. Supply and demand really drives the market. I can't tell you how many people come here from other parts of the country or the state and are blown away by our prices. But the fact is, supply and demand drives it. We don't make this stuff up, right?
Right.
I hear people complaining the real estate agents are driving up the price of housing. Well, not really. we don't have that much power.
Right.
Not that we would. The real estate agents in our market want affordable housing. In fact, Adam Hertz, who served on city council, who serves in the legislature, I believe he's building some affordable housing out near Hellgate Elementary here in the near future. And so I think that us in general, we want housing for all people. I think Missoula's just gotten really expensive, and so are our rents. I mean, our rents are right in line with our housing prices, which are crazy.
Yeah.
So
the whole concept of affordable housing, I think it's interesting. It all depends on which side of the fence you're coming from. You want affordable housing if you're buying. But if you're selling,
you want the high dollar.
I want the most I can get out of my house, and that is just human nature.
It is human nature. And again, we don't drive the prices. The supply and demand and the sales prices and the appraisals drive the prices. And there's a big difference between what's happening now and the bubble that burst in 2006 and 2007. We really are definitely, things are much more stable in the economy than they were then. We don't have a bunch of fake mortgages happening if you didn't see the documentary House of Cards, everybody should watch that. We were artificially faking a housing market in the financial industry.
And it was a gigantic scam.
And it was a huge problem for a lot of people. People were getting loans that shouldn't have got loans. And what happens when the economy started to turn for the worst? Those people lost their jobs. They couldn't afford their houses. So I don't think that mistake is going to happen again, at least hopefully not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I do think we're in a strong, healthy market right now. It's a great time to buy, and it's a great time to sell.
All right, so let's talk to potential buyers out there.
Sure.
We have like 5 minutes left in the program, so let's split the difference between buyers and sellers.
You bet.
So you want to start with sellers or buyers?
We talked a lot about sellers earlier.
Okay.
Let's talk about buyers.
Okay.
Buyers out there, again, get pre-approved with your local lender. Find out what you qualify for. What's your comfort level? How much down payment do you have? How much do you have in savings? We really feel like it's important that people have a little bit of savings before they buy a house. If your water heater goes out a year down the road and you need $500, let's make sure you've got a couple $1,000s in a rainy day fund. I'm just sounding like Dave Ramsey,
I was
aren't
just
I?
saying, thank you, Dave Ramsey. Right, exactly.
There's just a lot of things buyers need to think about, and that's why going to your lender, if you're thinking about buying a house sometime this year, talk to a lender now. We'll sit down with you and we can talk about all these different things, but first and foremost is what can you get financing for and what's your comfort level based on your income and the debts you currently have.
Now, the whole concept of, especially if you've never done this before, it can be really intimidating.
It is. And it can be, but it's made so much, things are so different. You can do an application online. You can talk to a lender on the phone. Your real face-to-face needs to be at the point where you get real serious.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, you need pay stubs. We need to know, they need to know what your income is and what your debts are. That's really the logistics of it. They don't even have to pull credit on you until you get really ready to buy a house.
Right.
They can run numbers, no cost, no obligation, and no credit report ran. And it's a pretty simple process these days.
One of the things we like to do on this show is promote local. And I know that you are a local realtor. You work with local realtors. As much as it might be nice to call 1-800-whoever and talk with a different person every time, in your pajamas or your underwear or whatever it might be. With something as serious and as humongous, if you will, as this, process is going to be.
Right.
Why not have somebody you can look eyeball to eyeball
Absolutely. We do promote local. Our local lenders are wonderful. Do not call 1-800 get a loan quick, because it won't be quick and it will be painful. If it saves you 0.25%, trust me, folks, it's just not worth it. But some people, they want to shop it, and that 0.25% is more important to them. I've had nothing but problems with those. So we like our local lenders, and we love our local lenders, and we want our buyers to have a positive experience. So we suggest, and we'll talk about our sponsors here in just a minute.
Now, why a local realtor, though?
Well, realtors we are all local in that we are licensed in the state of Montana, but they need to know the neighborhoods. I couldn't go over to Bozeman and sell a house to save my life. I couldn't even go to Kalispell, and I grew up there.
Right.
I lived there for 20 years, and
it's totally different
to this
now.
day, I couldn't even go up. I know where I used to live, and that's about it.
Right.
But you need a local expert. I don't care what market you're in. Even the difference between some of the areas in the Bitterroot Valley, which to me is like a foreign country. We're very Missoula central. We'll go south, north, and east a little ways, but not along.
Let's go ahead and hit your local sponsors.
You
here.
bet. Big thanks to longtime supporter, Western Title and Escrow. Great title company, locally owned and operated.
Get them on the show again.
Yes, we do. And then they're so busy closing sales down there, but that's a good point. And then, of course, Miles Link at Opportunity Bank. Miles has been with us since day one. He'll be doing a market update here real soon.
Right.
And Rob Fleming over at Man Mortgage. Rob, both of my lenders do an awesome job. We love them, and my clients love them.
All right, so give us some contact information for Diane Beck.
Just call my cell phone, 406-360-7654. Diane Beck at Realtor.com is my email. I'm around and available all the time. Please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
It's a pleasure, ma'am.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'll see you here and again in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. All right, that's going to do it for Missoula Real Estate today. For Diane Beck and Windermere Real Estate, thanks for joining us here on KGVO, AM and FM, and the KGVO app. Thanks for tuning into Missoula Real Estate today. We hope you found the information over the last 30 minutes to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling real estate, please email Diane. Here's the address. It's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. That's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. We'll see you next week on News Talk KGBO.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM.